Peter's pushing all my buttons.
I like that they're different.
Yeah, for
because it means that our lives are more interesting. It's more fun. We have to solve more problems.
Interesting's not the word I'd use to describe my 4 a.m. wake-up calls right now.
We're back. It's week 5 with Peter and Parker, and this week we're talking about the differences between the two dogs. We're talking about that in the context of the bite work and how different they are, the gameplay, the retrieves, the toys, the way they interact with them, and also in their general lifestyle.
Yeah. There's so many small differences, and I can kind of see or predict that there's going to be some big differences later in the way they learn, but also the way that they do things. Not problematic or anything, but just something we have to take into consideration with how we teach each one of them, when we teach each one of them any of the skills that they need to learn, what they need, like in terms of how much time with me, how much time away from me, you know, how much independence I should be kind of really pushing for them, as opposed to like, yeah man, you can hang around me today, like that's cool if you want to be next to me.
So something that's always been really interesting to us every time we do this with these sets of dogs from the same litter is that they're very different dogs, and sometimes people get it in their head that the whole litter are clones or that they're all identical twins, and it's, you know, nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah.
And luckily, I suppose, because you do get some litters and some dogs within the litters that are more closely matched, we have in every instance ended up with two dogs that are very different. And that has been great for our own development in that you learn, you know, I think one of those things, especially with the crate training, for example, it's one of those things where people, especially as trainers, we just tell people, this is what you do and it will work. But the timeline, the trajectory on which it works is always different. And so I'll speak on the bite work from both dogs, right? What I've noticed already is that Parker, the blue collar, he's the kind of dog that wants to get things. He's more interested in the chase and the pursuit. And then when I let him bite and we try and get some duration on there, he actually kind of gets a little bit stressed. He gets a little bit sort of like, I want this to start again. He gets pushy and kind of almost chewy, like he's trying to initiate something. He's trying to get something going. Where Peter, on the other hand, is in zen. When he gets something, he just zones out. He's so possessive. And now what's happening in their brain chemistry, you know, whether we even dare pick at the idea of a dopaminergic versus a serotonin, but like, I don't want to tear that apart, but definitely
with your
one
bro science.
Yeah, my bro science version. But definitely one dog likes the pursuit and is therefore like more into the trying to get it, which is great. That'll be very helpful for training in. And then the other is more into the having, and he wants to possess things, which is also great. It means that the way that we reinforce them both will be different, the way that we train them both will be different. And so already at a pretty young age, what are they? This is week 5 for us, so that makes them 13, 14 weeks, something like that. They are already starting to go off on quite separate training branches, whereby you and I both are having to, each session, really think which dog is this and how am I going to do this session. It's not just do it again, because the two dogs are very different. Tell us a little bit about the way that you're playing with them and the differences between it. We've seen, I'll put them here, there's some reels that you've been putting out. They're hilarious retrieves.
Different stages of playing fetch, if you want to call it that. Yeah, so it started off with them obviously not even wanting to leave me to chase the ball. They're just like, oh, we're super nervous and just like, we don't know what to do. We just want to be on you, no problem. And then throw the ball, they're like, oh, there's a ball. Oh, that's all. We're not going to chase it. We'll contemplate bringing it back. But we've progressed from there where I bring the ball to them and I just interact with them. You know, it's not important right now that they chase, they retrieve, they bring it back perfectly. It's, hey man, I just want you to understand that there is some fun that can be had with me, but this ball is the vessel for that, you know, in this moment. Obviously we do multiple toys and stuff, but in this moment, the ball is the key to this sort of interaction. So if you want to be with me, like, have this ball too. So even when they wanted to be on me, I'd be like, cool, man, no worries. You don't even want to hold the ball right now. I'm going to hold the ball. And I'm going to be like, this is fun. And like, occasionally I might just press up against it and whatever, but that's where it starts. And then eventually it's cool. Like, you want that moment with me again. I've dropped the ball. You're like, hey, that's important to this moment. Let me just get that for you. You know, I mean, it's kind of like back chaining, I guess, right? But it's not intended to be a very precise back chaining method, but it can kind of turn out like that. Then there are times where I will go and get the ball with them, you know, so yeah, I threw the ball for the dog. The dog's looking at it, doesn't want to chase it. It's not the end of the world that I go and get it, right? Sometimes I go get it without the dog. Eventually the dog will come with me, things like that. And then eventually the dog goes without me and brings it back. Now the big difference right now is their attitudes and just their personality and stuff. Parker, he's like, yeah, the ball. Races out to get it, still goofy as all hell, like, you know, flopping around with his paws, looking half like a cat. Pouncing on it and stuff, and he comes back, but he's really energetic and excited about coming back with the ball to me. Occasionally he drops it on the way, but he's still super excited about coming back. It's just like he got too excited and he probably didn't even know he dropped it. That's fine. I'll accept him in and I'll be like, hey man, you dropped the ball. Like, you want to go get it? And he'll be like, oh, the ball again. And he goes and gets it. But he's super excited about bringing it back. And when I throw it again, he loves it. Peter, on the other hand, I'll throw it and he's excited to go and get it. But once he gets it, you can kind of see he wants to take it and go off on his own. But he's learning that, hey man, I'm playing a game with you. So he's learning we're working together and I want him to have the ball. He can have the ball with me and we can be together while he possesses it. So he's slowly coming back and I'm teaching that he can possess it with me. I can even hold it, he can chomp down on it. I can just pat him and he can chomp it while it's on the ground or whatever. And then eventually, like, you know, we'll reset, I'll throw it and we'll do it again. But I give him more time possessing it with me, whereas Parker's quick reset and go again. Peter's pushing all my buttons. It is hard, like puppies are hard. Even when you're doing all the right things, it's just how it is. That's part of the process. So lack of sleep eventually kind of, you know, tests me a little bit, but I forget where I was going with that.
You were just sitting like this trying to show off your guns. I felt intimidated by you. I saw you do it. Look at it, intimidating me. Jazz is trying to intimidate me. If you have any questions for us, if there's anything you want to know, next week we're going to go long form and answer your questions. So if you have anything that you think of as we go, put it in the comments below and we'll be answering questions from there next week.
Parker settles a lot more easier in the crate and in the kennel, but in terms of lifestyle, Parker is the easier one to just have around. Like he's just a dude. He's just chill with everything, but he's got some fire in him. And then Peter, he has more needs that need to be met. But it's just a matter of me adapting what I do to make sure I give each dog what they need.
Yeah. So what we've observed, and it's fun to talk about, it's great that it's happening because it's happened with every set of dogs that we've gotten, that they're very different dogs. And something that I've seen over the years in dogs is that someone from a club or a training group or something like that will breed a litter of dogs, multiple people who all train together, get dogs from the same litter, and when they don't all turn out the same, they're concerned about, like, what are you doing differently? What am I doing differently? It was Fred and Frank were the same, Richard and Roger are the same, and now Peter and Parker are the same, that they're very different in and out of work. The way that they develop their working ethic is different. Their out of drive behaviors are different. Their personalities are really different. I agree with you. I like Parker more out of drive.
Hey, I never said I liked him more.
Yeah.
Let's be precise here.
I enjoy his company more.
He just doesn't push my buttons.
Yeah, out of the work, Parker is much more fun to be around. He's an easy keeper. He just hangs out. He's a dude. He's pretty independent, isn't very needy, but enjoys your company. And Peter is the opposite. He's needy. He's hard to settle. He still barks in the crate more than the other. Not to say that, like, you know, puppies are hard. You're doing everything to settle them correctly, but each dog is on a different trajectory.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard because I'm trying to learn what the dog needs, but they're also changing so fast because they're puppies. You know, everything that we're talking about now, could look completely different in a week.
Yeah.
Look completely different in 6 months. You know, and the way that they're doing article indications as well. From the start, Peter was a lot more calm, like sort of in a zen state, like he is with the bite work. When he's indicating, he's just there, like he's on it. But then very quickly, once he understood that, he was like, hey, like looking around a bit more, and it's like, oh, you quickly want to progress. Like, you've got this, what's next? Which is great, but I have to make sure I don't hold him back accidentally because Park is going on a different timeline, you know? And it's not that one's better than the other, it's just what they need. Because Parker may be able to change criteria slower, but he might be able to make bigger criteria jumps, whereas perhaps Peter's going to need smaller criteria jumps, but changes them regularly. So, you know, potentially end up at the same point anyway, but it's just the way that they learn. So I'm pretty interested to see how that progresses.
All right, that's it for week 5. That's the update with Peter and Parker. Our plan for next week is to go long form. Put your questions down below and we'll answer those as many as we can. We're gonna talk for as long as we need to and do like more of a podcast style episode on where we're at and the catch up and the minor things that we've seen. It'll be less tightly edited together than it is here. Right here over me now, there's another video and there's the whole playlist of everything that we've done up to this point. And over here on Jazz's side is our profiles. These episodes come out every week on my channel, and Jazz is also putting up stuff on her channel that is like last week you did a full unedited session.
Yeah, article session actually.
Yeah, so if you want to see like actual unedited start to finish training, Jazz is putting some of those up on her channel. That's it. See you guys next week.